10:30 a.m. May 21, 2026.
Funerals for the victims are also expected to start a couple of hours from now. Police say that
the Linda Vista Motel
15 gunmen away from the nearly 140 children
on King George Highway, Surrey. I poked my head out the window, and we got an ambulance here, 64042. What it's doing here, I don't know. I didn't hear any sirens or anything.
Incredible that wasn't worse. And here's the talker for the day. Music streaming giant Spotify just announcing its new Reserved program.
But I was staying at the Desert Inn there in Cache Creek. The ambulance came several times for this one guy that was living there. He straight up told me he was HA. Said that because of his illnesses, he could just yell at people and all. That's all he could do. I dropped by his place of employment by fluke, and they straight up told me that they were HA as well. The owner there at the Desert Inn there in Cache Creek, it's also a Red Lion Hotel. He said loudly in the parking lot, he was an Asian gentleman, that he was HA and going to prison. Okay, at least they're upfront about it. And he had Epoch Times, a lying Epoch Times in his lobby of his hotel. When I was staying at that place in Qualicum Beach, the one by the park there, I forget the name of it. The guy next to me was obviously in bad shape. He used to wear pajamas and like be in the parking lot and stuff. And some other people in town said like, we want that guy out of town. Like, we just don't like him. The ambulance came like 2 or 3 times for the dude, and finally he wasn't around anymore.
It has been a long period of time. So it's not exactly
that place as well. It was like a man, his wife, his son's girlfriend. The son made pro Hells Angels comments, said he liked that Joe Mulligan sex offender in New West.
One thing I just want to point out here,
I wrote a letter to the police department there in Parksville RCMP. I never got a reply, but the owner was telling his maid that the police don't care about that letter he sent them. But I never saw the owner there again. The maid said she was part of what she called Surrey HA. The other maid there was straight off another planet. She was talking about shapeshifters, making all sorts of hand signals, said Hitler was good, that Canadian women were responsible for Hitler. She said that some guy, J and HA, said she was a moron, an idiot, mentally ill, whatever. I was walking early one morning behind the Closed D's pub, and a guy in a black pickup truck that I knew was an HA in some shape or form was talking to her in her car. And then they both drove off the opposite way they came down the highway.
Has an incredibly powerful effect on kids, and that's part of this. But like we said, it's not just the social media apps, right? It's the screen time.
Yeah, overall, which I love about this report, because they're not just targeting some companies. They're saying screen time in general, take a step back. And
had a short walk this morning.
I think this report does a
First lady I encountered who wants to verbalize to me says Jay's set's going downhill big time. The second guy says a bunch of crap about me, which I didn't bother responding to, but the bottom line was he didn't want anything to do with me, which was fine with me. He and the next guy I met both wearing plain black shirts. The other guy came out of one of the apartments there by the Indian fusion restaurant that has Greek food and stuff. Him, his girl, and the little child with I want to be a dinosaur shirt starts off friendly, then it starts with all the gang crap and stuff, so whatever. Then there's a guy, crippled, white, talking to another gentleman, Asian, again talking about crime stuff. The white guy said something about me being sober, so I said, yeah, that's true, I am. And then the guy said something about something I said. I gave him the true story.
No, Sam, exactly the opposite. In fact, we do have some breaking news here on Capitol Hill.
Ate my food of kiwi, strawberry yogurt, and bananas, came home, and I think I'll take a nap. Having problems with LinkedIn, I get some good views, not exactly viral, but good views. And all of a sudden they say, oh, we can't authorize you because we don't know your identity. And then when I try to use the camera to verify my identity, they say your camera doesn't work. Well, no, my camera works just fine, Mr. Gates, sir.
Department of Homeland Security shutdown that was expected to pass easily. Senators wanted more information about this weaponization fund before they moved.
Very little litter I saw,
They did not get those
and I picked up what
answers
little
from the
litter I
Deputy
saw,
Attorney
most of
General.
it.
So instead of passing that legislation, that funding that President Trump desperately wanted to see funded,
The government should ban the Hells Angels, just like we banned the Proud Boys a few years ago. The Proud Boys didn't do any of the nasty stuff the Hells Angels do, like gang rape and making and selling meth and making and selling LSD and threatening to kill law enforcement officers. And they never did any contract murders. If we could ban the Proud Boys, why not the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club? And here in Surrey, the head of Cricket Canada had his house shot into in Newton. Last 3 shootings in Newton all have one thing in common. Well, they have several things in common. Everyone, each case, there was ethnic non-white people. By that I mean the non-black people, non-native people were involved either as victims or perpetrators. At all 3, there's no named suspect.
The power of the purse. And while the Department of Justice is arguing that these are already appropriated funds, members of Congress clearly don't believe
Fifth Estate did a good documentary on Cricket Canada recently. There's all sorts of corruption, and apparently the Bolshoi gang, the guys who are doing all the extortion stuff, a lot of it, apparently they're like muscling in on it, demanding certain players play and other players don't play.
Republicans very much are in line with
If you know about Pablo Escobar, the old dead cocaine boss, he used to have referees executed if he didn't like how they called a game. And he bought soccer teams and such.
It's making life just overall for their long-term agenda.
Yeah, no doubt. Seismic developments today from Capitol Hill. Right.
This is the second shooting involving people at the top levels of Cricket Canada organization in Canada in 1 year, in the last 12 months.
The 94-year-old faces charges of conspiracy to kill